Hello, it's Phillip Taylor from Richmond Green Chambers speaking. I'm looking at a book from LexisNexis, which many of you will know. It's Anthony and Berryman's Magistrates Court Guide, and this is actually for 2010. This is the heavy book here. This is a slightly longer review that I've done. There's a flicker review here. There's a detailed written appreciation, which will be on the internet, and we've given it the title, The Magistrates Court Law Cards for Professionals, because that's actually what it looks like. When you look at the actual content, a lot of the information, the way it's set out, even though this is much bigger now than the original versions, it certainly looks like a series of very useful law cards. And you'll see from the appreciation my wife and I have written that we see the way in which this publication goes as very much the intermediary between the very small books about the Mags Court, this type of work, and then Stone's, which is the definitive statement. So there we go, we've got the 2010 edition. What have we got in it? It's essentially, as I say, a reference in one volume for the practice and procedure linked to what is a law card structure for Magistrates Court use. And I like the ease of use that you have with this particular publication. It's got concise commentary, and you don't have to go to Stone's with the huge amount of case law, which of course is much more important for me if I'm arguing a particularly hard case against the justices. So if you're a practitioner therefore in the Mags Court and you're associated perhaps professionally with the court, this is the sort of book that you do really need to have. Obviously what is useful about this particular book, and it's mentioned right at the beginning in the preface, which Davies has covered, is to look at things like the Sentencing Guidelines Council issues concerning burglary, theft and breach of ASBOs and so forth. So it's very contemporary to the current criminal justice process issues that we're facing. And these SGC guidelines in fact are very useful because they're very much up to date as at October 2009, and I'm reviewing this at the beginning of 2010. A useful list of tables and statutes, of course, everything that we would expect. Practitioners agree, we suggest, that this succinct, logically structured work provides guidance on key cases and practice development, which is something we certainly need. And there are obviously a lot of changes that have been brought in, notably things like youth rehabilitation orders and so forth, including banning orders. It's also useful to note recent developments in other areas such as enforcement of contact orders and so forth. Of course, it obviously deals with all aspects of the work of the Magistrates Court. I've often wondered who Ernest Anthony and John Dennis Berryman were, because when they began their long collaboration, it started in the 60s, covering licensing, and then I remember seeing, I think, the first edition of this in about 1971, when I was just starting to read law. Obviously the title has grown with the number of offences, that's why it's so much bigger, but I'm glad that we have the excellent and masterful F.G. Davies as the editor. He's kept the title, and I think that's useful. The format is of most assistance to us because of the terribly short and pressured time that we have when the justices are sitting, and I certainly find I need this information instantly, and this is where I would come. It's exactly what I'm getting here, of course, with the 2010 Anthony and Berryman. So LexisNexis, thank you very much. Bye bye.